You know that moment. They're sitting right next to you, close enough to touch, quiet enough to hear the refrigerator humming in the next room. You ask a simple question like, "Are we okay?" And they don't explode. They don't comfort you. They don't even really answer. They just get smaller somehow, more distant. Their face goes flat. Their body stays there, but their presence leaves the room before you do. And your mind starts racing. Why do I feel shut out again? Why does every real conversation feel like too much? Why do they act like needing closeness is a problem? Am I asking for too much? Or am I loving someone who only knows how to love from far away? Here's the truth most people completely miss. The dismissive avoidant doesn't pull away because they don't care. They pull away because, to their nervous system, distance feels safer than dependence ever did. So no, you're not failing at love. And this is not automatically a sign that you chose the wrong person. A lot of relationships stand exactly here, in that painful, unspoken place where one person is reaching and the other is retreating, and both of them feel alone. By the end of this video, you're going to understand what a dismissive avoidant actually means by a healthy relationship, why it can feel so confusing if you love deeply, and what has to change if you want connection instead of just coexistence. Let's get into it. The mindset reframe. Most couples believe a healthy relationship is one where there's no drama, no conflict, no clinginess, no pressure. But the real truth is that for a dismissive avoidant, healthy often means something much narrower than that. It means a relationship where they never feel emotionally cornered, never feel swallowed, never feel too needed, and never have to rely on someone in a way that wakes up old vulnerability beneath the surface. And here's why that matters. Your partner's nervous system is reading you before their mind can catch up. If closeness once felt intrusive, unpredictable, or emotionally expensive to them, then intimacy can register less like comfort and more like loss of control. So what looks like stonewalling is often self-protection. What looks like coldness is often overwhelm with a poker face on. What looks like "I just need space" is sometimes a body saying, "I don't know how to stay open and still feel safe." Honestly, that changes everything. Because now you stop reducing this to personality. You stop calling it simple incompatibility too fast. This is attachment. This is emotional conditioning. This is the anxious avoidant cycle in one of its clearest forms. One person moves closer to feel connection. The other moves away to feel safety. And both people walk away thinking, "See, love always becomes pressure." But here's what nobody explains. When safety leaves a relationship, love doesn't always disappear. Sometimes it just goes underground. And if you don't understand that, you'll keep misreading distance as indifference and closeness as control, when the real story is much more human than that. So if you've ever loved someone who seemed emotionally available one minute and withdrawn the next, this is the conversation that helps you finally see the pattern for what it is. 1. Healthy means no pressure. Here's the part no one talks about. For a dismissive avoidant, a healthy relationship often starts with one private rule: don't ask too much from me. Most couples think health is built by increasing communication, increasing closeness, increasing emotional transparency. But most people in relationships don't realize that to someone with dismissive patterns, too much emotional expectation can feel like a trap before it ever feels like connection. That's the deeper truth. It's not that they don't want love. It's that their nervous system often equates being needed with being consumed. Somewhere in them, dependence got coded as danger. So when you ask for reassurance, consistency, or presence, what you mean is, come closer. But what they can hear is, you are about to lose your freedom. And inside, something tightens. Something says, I'm not safe here if I can't breathe. So the disconnecting version sounds like this. You say, I just want to feel like you're here with me. They say, why is everything always such a big deal with you? The connecting version sounds different. You say, I'm not trying to trap you. I'm trying to feel close to you. And they say, when I hear urgency, I shut down. But I want to stay here with you if we can slow this down. That's not perfection. That's presence. And when you do that, the relationship stops feeling like a courtroom and starts feeling like a place where both people can finally exhale. 2. Space feels like safety. And this is the one most couples never figure out. A dismissive avoidant often doesn't experience space as distance. They experience it as regulation. Most couples treat space like a threat. If someone pulls back, it gets interpreted as disinterest, drift, or emotional abandonment. But most people in relationships don't understand that for the withdrawn partner, space can feel like the only place where their inner world becomes quiet enough to hear themselves again. This is where it gets really interesting. Because what they want is not always separation. It's relief. Their nervous system can be like a smoke detector. It cannot always tell the difference between a loving conversation, a disappointed tone, and actual emotional danger. So it sounds the alarm anyway. And then the instinct is predictable. Minimize, detach, disappear into work, into routines, into logic, into anything that restores internal control. Beneath the surface, the thought is often, if I stay in this too long, I'm going to lose myself. So the disconnecting version sounds like this. You say, why do you always need space after we talk about anything real? They say, because you're exhausting. The connecting version sounds like this. You say, I know space helps you settle. I just need to know you're coming back. And they say, I do need a minute, not because I don't care, because I want to come back better than I am right now. Bro, that lands differently. Because space with repair is not abandonment. And when that gets named clearly, the walls between you start to come down, without either of you having to force it. 3. Calm gets mistaken for connection. But here's what nobody explains. A dismissive avoidant can mistake the absence of conflict for the presence of intimacy. Most couples assume that if they're not fighting, things must be fine. If the house is peaceful, the schedule works, and nobody is making demands, it can look healthy from the outside. But most people in relationships don't realize that emotional flatness can masquerade as stability for a very long time. Not passion, not repair, not emotional honesty, just low disturbance. That's the trap. Because a relationship can be quiet and still be starving. It can be calm in the same way a winter tree looks calm. Still, silent, and nowhere near blooming. For a dismissive avoidant, this kind of calm can feel ideal. No one is asking hard questions. No one is poking the tender places. No one is asking them to name what they feel when they barely know themselves. So internally, they may think, "See, this is healthy. No drama, no pressure, no mess." But their partner is often quietly registering something else. "I'm lonely, even when you're right here." So the disconnecting version sounds like this. You say, "We never really talk anymore." They say, "What are you talking about? We're not even fighting." The connecting version sounds like this. You say, "I don't need more conflict. I need more of you." And they say, "I think I've been confusing peace with distance. I've been here physically, but not emotionally." And here's what changes everything. Real health is not the absence of friction. It's the presence of repair, honesty, and emotional availability. That's the shift that turns a relationship that feels like a polite arrangement into one that feels alive again. 4. Needs feel like criticism. Here's the part that hurts. A lot of dismissive avoidants don't hear your needs as invitations. They hear them as proof they're failing. Most couples don't see this in real time. One partner thinks they're asking for closeness. The other hears disappointment, accusation, or control. So even calm feedback can land like rejection if someone already carries the belief that love comes with impossible expectations. This is attachment in motion. When someone learned early that emotional needs were overwhelming, inconvenient, or unsafe, they often built an identity around not needing much at all. So when you show up with longing, sadness, or unmet needs, it doesn't just ask something of them. It threatens the whole system they built to survive. Inside, the monologue is often, "No matter what I do, it's never enough. I'm about to get blamed again." So the disconnecting version sounds like this. You say, "I miss you. I wish you'd check in more." They hear, "You're failing me again." And then they say, "I can never do anything right with you." The connecting version sounds like this. You say, "This isn't me saying you're bad. It's me letting you into what I miss." And they say, "When I hear needs, I instantly brace. But I want to hear what matters to you, without turning it into shame." That is huge. Because the moment shame drops, defensiveness softens. And that's when your partner stops feeling like a problem to manage and starts feeling like a person you can finally reach. 5. Self-sufficiency becomes a love language. This is where it gets really interesting. A dismissive avoidant often thinks a healthy relationship is one where both people are highly independent, low maintenance, and emotionally self-contained. Most couples celebrate independence, and to be fair, some of that is healthy. But most people in relationships don't realize there's a difference between healthy autonomy and emotional exile. One is freedom. The other is a survival strategy dressed up as maturity. Not detachment. Not isolation. Not two roommates with good boundaries, but two people who can be whole on their own and still let each other matter deeply. That's the deeper truth. Dismissive patterns often turn self-sufficiency into a moral virtue. If they can handle everything alone, they feel strong. If they need help, comfort, or reassurance, they can feel exposed. So they may admire relationships where no one asks for much, no one falls apart, no one leans too hard. But beneath the surface, they may also be starving for the very dependence they've trained themselves to reject. A quiet part of them is saying, "I want closeness. I just don't want the cost I think comes with it." So the disconnecting version sounds like this. You say, "You don't have to carry everything alone." They say, "I'm fine. I don't need anyone. The connecting version sounds like this. You say, I'm not trying to take over. I just want to stand next to you in this. And they say, I'm used to handling everything alone. Letting you in feels unfamiliar, not wrong. Honestly, that's real intimacy. Not helplessness, not dependence without boundaries, but chosen interdependence. And when that starts happening, the relationship stops feeling like two separate lives running in parallel and starts feeling like something you're actually building together. 6. Conflict feels like control. And here's what changes everything. For a dismissive avoidant, conflict is rarely just conflict. It can feel like engulfment, exposure, and loss of agency all at once. Most couples think arguments are about the topic on the table, the dishes, the text message, the tone, the forgotten plan. But most people in relationships are fighting about something beneath the surface. One person is protesting disconnection, and the other is protecting themselves from emotional overwhelm. That's why the cycle gets so brutal. You push because you want repair. They retreat because they want safety. You read the retreat as not caring. They read the push as emotional force. And both people leave the conversation more convinced than ever that the other one just doesn't get it. Think about the difference here. The disconnecting version sounds like this. You say, can we please talk about what happened? They say, not this again. You always want to ruin the whole night. The connecting version sounds like this. You say, I'm not trying to corner you. I'm trying to stay connected through something hard. And they say, when conflict starts, my body hears danger before I can think clearly. I need to slow down, not disappear. That's not a communication hack. That's what emotional maturity looks like when someone has learned to stay present without abandoning themselves. And when you do that, conflict stops feeling like a weapon and starts becoming what it was always supposed to be, a doorway back into each other. 7. Real health is staying present, not staying unbothered. Here's the part that can change the whole relationship. A dismissive avoidant's first idea of health is often, nothing should feel too intense. But the mature version of health is very different. Even when things feel intense, I can stay emotionally present without shutting love out. Most couples never make that distinction. Most people in relationships spend years trying to reduce friction instead of increasing capacity. But the real goal is not to build a relationship where nothing gets activated. The real goal is to build one where activation doesn't automatically become withdrawal. Because that is the evolution. Not colder, not tougher, not more numb. More open, more regulated, more real. A healthy relationship for a dismissive avoidant is not one where their partner never has needs, never brings up hard things, never asks for closeness, and never disrupts their comfort. That's not health. That's emotional minimalism. Real health is when they can hear a need without collapsing into shame, receive closeness without feeling trapped, ask for space without building walls, and come back for repair instead of waiting for everything to blow over. So the disconnecting version sounds like this. You say, I need you with me in this. They say, I can't do this right now, and disappear for 2 days. The connecting version sounds like this. You say, I need you with me in this. And they say, part of me wants to shut down right now, but I'm going to stay. Or if I need to pause, I'm going to come back. Man, that's the shift. That's the whole game. Because when someone learns that presence is safer than avoidance, love stops feeling like pressure and starts feeling like home. So if this video hit something deep in you, this is what I want you to remember. This isn't a checklist. It's an invitation to see love more clearly. To stop calling distance normal when it's actually protection. To stop calling your needs too much when they're actually bids for connection. And to stop calling withdrawal peace when it's really fear wearing a calm face. When you internalize this, you change. You stop personalizing every shutdown. You stop romanticizing emotional unavailability. And if you're the one with dismissive patterns, you stop hiding behind independence and start becoming someone who can stay open without feeling swallowed. These aren't tips for a better relationship. They're the beginning of becoming the kind of partner you always wanted someone to be for you. Real intimacy begins the moment safety matters more to you than self-protection.